In this video, we're going to look at creating the enemy and also utilizing that hurt animation that's on our character. We're not going to give the character a health bar. We'll probably implement lives later on, but for now, the character's going to get hurt and then it's going to respawn at the start here. So what we need to do is we need to create a new scene, and we're going to call this, we'll call this enemy. And I think let's see what the sprite is actually called. Enemy. Okay, we've got an eagle, we've got a frog, we've got an opossum. So let's call this one. We'll do the eagle first. Eagle. And I'm actually going to change this. Change the type. I want to change it to an area. 2D. And this is also going to have a collision shape on it. And it's going to have an animated sprite. Now, these little exclamation marks, I haven't actually mentioned them before, but these are just warnings. You'll be fine without them. The program will run without them, but in this case, it's going to give you a notice saying that even though you've got the collision shape, there is no shape defined over here. So I'm going to define a shape. We'll go circle shape. And now the animated sprite, there's no animated sprite frames for this. So we'll go to there and we'll click it. And we'll bring in eagle attack. It's our default. Well, we'll just use the default here. So we'll go sprites and enemy. Do that one. There's 4 across and 1 vertical. Grab all those. And let's just see what this looks like. There we go. That looks good. All right, that's neat. Now for this one, what we're going to do is we're going to make it just kind of move left and right. Now in previous game engines, maybe say for example, if you've used gdevelop or construct or something like that, you may have used little invisible blocks or even game maker, especially if you teacher, you followed one of my tutorials previously. You will have used little invisible blocks that you hit that block and tell it to reverse and flip the sprite and all that stuff. So we're actually not going to do it that way in here. We're going to do it with a timer. And we're just going to give it a little bit of time and then it's going to flip the other way. So we're going to add a node called a timer. And we'll turn on auto start, but we'll play around with that wait time in a minute. So this one here, we're going to go eagle and we're going to save this scene. We'll save it as eagle into scenes. I might call it enemy. And we will hit this button to add a script. And then in the process, we're going to add in some simple code. So this code here is, it's going to be very simple. All it's going to do is, we need to give it a direction. So we're going to say direction equals 1. And here we're going to translate. So translate is just a simple bit of code that just moves it along a vector. So we want a vector 2. So we're going to say vector 2 dot right. That's going to move on along to the right side, but we're going to multiply it by direction. So we're going to multiply the entire vector by a value, and that's going to be either 1 or -1. But at the moment, that's it. It's just translating along that vector. And then let's go ahead and add in a signal here. So when the timer times out, it's going to send a signal, which will link up to this bit of code. We'll say direction times equals -1. Or you can say direction equals direction times -1. I'll get rid of that. And that's going to reverse the direction. It's pretty simple. One last thing we're going to do is in groups, we are going to add this here to the, we'll call it death. I know we'll call it hurt. That's a bit less scary. Let's go add hurt. Okay, so this enemy group, this collision shape is going to hurt the player. Now at the moment, we're not too worried about that. We'll leave it as it is for now. We're not going to do anything with it. We just want to test it. And so we'll go player. sorry, we'll go to the world and we'll put the enemy into the world. So we go to enemy eagle, we'll put him here. And when we play it, we can see that eagle's there. He's bouncing backwards and forwards. That's not quite right. The animation isn't playing. So let's go back to here, animated sprite. We'll tick the auto start on this one. And so now we can play it. You can also click this button here and select the scene to play. Okay, so that's better, but it's not going the direction that we want it to go in. So we will add that to the script here. So let's think. We could write it like this: if direction equals 1, if direction greater than 0, $ animated sprite 2D.flip, but we could just do it in one line by writing it like this: $ animated sprite 2D.flip h equals direction less than 0. So I may have that around the wrong way, but this is going to either be true or false. So if it's true, it's going to flip it. If it's false, it's not going to flip it. So let's go ahead and test that. World scene. Oops, and I've got it around the wrong way. So we will do it like that. World, test it. And there we go. We've got our enemy just going backwards and forwards. If we wanted to go further, we can just change that timer. So we could actually set the timer in here. So we could say var export var flip time equals 1. That's going to be the default. And then in here, we could say timer $timer dot timeout equals flip time. And I'm pretty sure that's the bit of code that we want. Maybe it's wait time. Oh yeah, it's wait time equals flip time. So that will, we could put it in the ready function. Actually, that's probably the better way to do it in here, ready function. So $timer.waitTime equals flip time, and we could set that flip time in here. So if we want it to go for longer, we could set it to 2, and then when we play the scene, it's going to go for 2 seconds instead of 1. So it goes back a little bit and forth. So there's some trial and error that will happen there. Oops, didn't mean to run off there. I did put some extra cherries around to collect. So that is our first simple enemy. But how do we get our player to actually collide with that? Well, we're going to do that soon. But first we're going to do a second enemy, which is going to be the possum. And the possum is going to actually use a kinematic body. The possum's going to run along the ground. So it's going to, not a kinematic body, that's why they're free, character body. So the character body, we're going to add in a collision shape for this. And it's also going to have an animated sprite. And it's also going to have a timer. So it's very much the same. The code is going to be quite different though. The animated sprite, let's go ahead and get that for the opossum. So let's grab that sprite there, enemy opossum. And no, we don't want to drag it in. We want to select here. And it's opossum, there it is. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across and 1 down. Those frames. Okay, and we'll loop that. And then collision shape, we will just leave it to be the circle shape for now. Let's go ahead and check that. We might need to make it a little bit bigger so that it's touching the ground there. There we go. And we'll add this to the groups as well. Hurt, the same group. This will come into play later, you'll see. We may end up taking that into the next video, but because I think that one will take a little while with what we're going to do with it. And then we'll save this. We'll rename this to be opossum. We'll save this as enemy underscore opossum. The scene folder, yep. All right, so the code for this, when we add this, we're going to use the basic 2D movement. We're going to go down to here and we're going to get rid of the input for the jump and the input for this here. And we're just going to change some code here to say, actually, we don't even need this. We don't even need this. All we need is this one here. Velocity equals direction times speed. We need that there. Then we need to have the timeout. So we'll go back to here. We will add the signals timeout. Connect it up in here. And why is that giving me an error there? Our direction is not declared. So let's just declare the direction at the top. 1. Speed is declared. There we go. So direction equals direction times -1. Same as saying direction times equals -1. And that should be it. Shouldn't be too difficult. One thing we do need to do is flip the direction of the sprite. So we're going to do that here. If we'll just say, what did we do before? We went $animated sprite 2D dot flip h equals direction is greater than 0. Direction is greater than 0. Flip h equals. Now I don't remember if I got that the right way around. Let's see. Yeah, that's right. Oh, normally this would be, direction greater than 0. 1 is facing right. Normally you wouldn't want to flip it if it's facing right, because that's kind of the general direction that sprite goes. So it does depend on the actual sprite itself. Because this sprite is facing left, when it's facing right, we want to flip this. But when it's not facing right, we don't. So let's go ahead and add in our opos into the world. And where is it? It's down here in 2D. Let's add one of these. Now, this is where it gets a little bit tricky because we do have gravity on this. At least I think we do. Yeah, we do. If it's not on the floor, gravity. So here's where we're going to come into a problem if we don't plan this. Now, we could do some things like add a ray cast to it to make sure that it stays on the ground. I just want to keep this one pretty simple. We may come back and fix that later. But at the moment, I will bring this all the way over here. There. And just for testing, I'm going to bring, not that, bring my player. I can't select the player. Where is he? There he is. Let's lock this parallax background layer. Click lock at the top. Let's just make it say branch as seen. And won't let me lock it. I'm not sure why that is. There we go. I can move that one now anyway. Okay, so I'm going to bring this guy over to here. So if I play this scene, go down. Oh, he just vanished. Why did he vanish? He just completely disappeared. Oh, he went over that way and then just gone. Okay, let's see. Why would that be the case? If he's not on the floor, direction times speed. Let's turn that speed down a little bit. Let's go 100. Move it to slide. Do that on timer, timeout. Actually, I know why this didn't come back. So let's go back into here. Timeout, inspector. We've got to auto start that timer so it actually comes back. And let's hit the test button. There he is. He's on the ground. Again, the animation's not playing. Now with this, the reason he stops is because we are two kinematic bodies colliding, or character bodies. So these physics objects will interact with one another, which means I could stand on top of him and he'll probably act like a moving platform. No. Yeah, I'm not sure why he's not moving to the right there. There we go. So that is all working. Oh, because physics gravity is acting on us both in that case. That's working. I just need to turn one thing on in the animated sprite, which is the auto start, and then that will work. Right, so in the next video, we will add in the actual collision with the player. So we've got our enemies done, so at least basic enemies done. We'll add in the collision with the player in the next video.